On this episode of the Second Swing Thoughts podcast, we bring back Bella McCauley. She just had a couple of really cool experiences playing in two very prestigious events at Augusta National and also representing Team USA. So we had a really fun conversation with her to talk about those. And then, of course, a big event this week in terms of professional golf, the US Open at Oakmont. It's going to be a very fun and intriguing event. So we'll break that all down in this episode of the Second Swing Thoughts podcast. Hey golfers, and welcome back to another episode of the Second Swing Thoughts podcast. Sean Bauer joining me, co-host of the show. Another fun conversation with Bella after her two awesome experiences coming up. That's going to be really fun to let the viewers kind of get her perspective on that. And then, of course, it's a big week for professional golf, the US Open. Always a fun event, but I think this week in particular is going to be a lot of fun with how all the hype and the media and the videos of the rough are making this event very intriguing. I'm excited to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait for to tee off tomorrow and Father's Day weekend as well.
Yes.
Can't wait. My wife asked me, "What are you gonna do for Father's Day?" And she's like, "You want to golf? You want all this stuff?" And I was like, "Well, golf's up there." I was like, "But honestly, I could just sit on the couch and watch the final round of the US Open, and I'd be happy." And
that sounds fantastic, actually, especially with the carnage that might come this week at the tournament. Yeah, if it's as tough as these guys are hinting at, that'll be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, we'll break it down here a little bit more. And yeah, Bella talking, getting to play Augusta National, arguably, probably the most famous golf course in the world. Then getting to represent Team USA in the Arnold Palmer Cup.
Yeah.
Pretty cool experience. I mean, she got to play, she was on the same team as the men's NCAA Division I champion, and so really cool. You're really going to enjoy that conversation. We'll get to that here in a bit. But first, let's get into the turn. And before we get to the U.S. Open, let's talk about this past weekend's tournament, the RBC Canadian Open. And I feel like that tournament just always delivers. I feel like there's always an exciting finish.
So, and you say that, it was weird because obviously this was a playoff. It was really cool to see how it finished in regulation. We had Sam Burns, fire the 62 and kind of out of nowhere seemingly come back, and it looked like he was going to win. And then Ryan Fox with the birdie putt on 18, which was great. But then the playoff, I know it was a 4-hole playoff, but the playoff was a little underwhelming just with the way that hole set up and the guys not being able to make a birdie the first three times they played it was a little bit disappointing as a viewer because, and then they obviously adjusted the hole for the whole location for the fourth hole to make it reachable. And then we had some fireworks immediately. But it wasn't a waste of time, but it was kind of just, it was not as enjoyable of a playoff as you typically see when it goes 4 holes.
Yeah, but if you remember back when Nick Taylor won, because I think that one 2 or 3 holes.
Yeah.
And it was kind of the same way where it was like neither one of them could really birdie, no one make a putt. And then, of course, he made that long one bomb for the win. That was cool. But I just feel like it always comes down to the wire there. We've seen lots of playoffs. And for Ryan Fox, that's now 2 wins in the past month.
Yep.
Both coming in the playoff. First one, he chips in.
Yep.
And then this one, he hits that 3-wood there, puts it to within makeable range.
He's got a knack for the theatrics there, I guess.
Yeah.
That was a crazy shot. I think it was just in that right distance in his wheelhouse to finally go for it when they moved the hole to the right location, and he hit this big high power fade that stopped on a dime, and it kind of forced Burns' hand a little bit to obviously go for it. And not that he hit a horrible shot by any means, but then he had to be aggressive and also with that eagle putt, and so it kind of awarded him the win. I mean, basically that shot won him the tournament.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing I love about Ryan Fox is his pace of play is phenomenal.
I know. I love
More
it.
golfers need to play like that. Just gets his yardage, picks his shot, goes up, swings the club. Let's move on. Him and I think Ludwig Oberg.
Yep.
If you put the two of them in a twosome and you just let them go play, I think they would. They would.
DJ's
finish.
Another guy that comes to mind. That's exactly like that.
I like guys that they step up to the plate and they hit it. They don't think around. But let's take a look at his bag. He's pretty much Strixon, Cleveland all the way through. Besides the putter.
Yep.
Goes the ZXI with the driver. Doesn't go with the LS version, which, you see more PGA Tour players go in the LS version. But then for the fairway wood, of course, hit the famous shot. It's a 3-wood, but he's playing at 16.5 degrees, so plays kind of like a 4-wood, which we're seeing a lot of popularity. That little slightly higher lofted wood there. And then he goes with the Srixon ZXIU, a utility iron there. And then he plays a combo ZXI5, ZXI7.
Yep.
Plays the Cleveland RTZ wedges.
Yep.
And then putter Ping Answer 2D.
Yeah, that is a unique build for that putter. It's the Answer style, but obviously a little bit thicker than the traditional Answer. But you see it's a longer shaft, kind of almost like an arm lock build for him, which is a little interesting in that putter head to see. But I also too the higher lofted driver and higher lofted woods kind of show how he's really hitting down and compressing the ball quite a bit, because you don't see a lot of guys that have that high a loft in their driver and their 3-wood, similar to like John Rahm that way, where he also has, I believe, a driver playing that at like 11 degrees.
Yeah.
Where you can tell those guys hit down on it. He plays that kind of big high fade, and
fade.
it clearly works for him. So kudos to obviously the team at Srixon in Cleveland, but also kudos to Ryan Fox.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a lot of wins this year with guys playing Srixon irons, which if you saw on our social media channels, Jake Montgomery is on there, and he still says like not enough golfers are coming into our fitting bays talking about Srixon irons, but a lot of them leave with them.
Yeah.
They've just been on a roll, and their irons are fantastic. They feel great, look great.
Yeah.
Definitely awesome clubs there. So yeah, we'll see if he can keep the momentum going here at the U.S. Open. But that's what we're going to talk about here for a little bit. Up next here, Oakmont, kind of one of your perennial courses. Hasn't been there since 2016.
Yes, that was DJ's first major win, and I believe he was the only player under par. Maybe he was one of 2 under par at that one.
I think it was a couple, because I remember there was some controversy because he had he had like a potential penalty stroke, which he ended up getting. They did penalize him.
Yeah.
But then he made the birdie, and so it didn't matter.
Yeah.
But of course, Dustin Johnson at the time looking for his first major already had the controversy
Whistling Straits.
And then you're thinking this, and you're like, dude.
Well, he also had that same year at the U.S. Open, I believe he was leading at Pebble going into the final round, and then he shot like a 79 or 80 or something like that. So he had those chances, and he was, it was one of those things. And then the previous year, of course, at Chambers Bay, he had the 3-putt on the last hole.
Yeah.
So he was a guy that was
knocking on the
sorely
door,
needing a major at the time, and he finally got one there.
And that one was, I think the final score was 5 under, and then the last time I was there, I think it was 2006. That was Angel Cabrera, and that was a 5 over finish. So you've seen the videos. The course is playing super long. I mean, you have like a 290-yard par 3 that players are hitting driver in.
We can have a whole separate conversation about
5-inch rough. So I in the way that players are hyping it up, it makes it seem like maybe, perhaps, an over par score will once again win the U.S. Open. That hasn't been the case of late. I don't think it needs to be over par. I think, but it's obviously fun to see them once a year just really struggle. And so it'll be interesting. Obviously, Scotty Scheffler is the favorite. I think he's the biggest favorite since Tiger Woods at the 2009 U.S. Open, which is pretty crazy. Also just tells you where Scotty's at. But you have Bryson DeChambeau, who's kind of he's been in contention at every major. Will Rory kind of bounce back? He's kind of lost his game since his win at the Masters.
He's got a QI10 back in the bag this week, so we'll see.
I
also wanted to add, a Tiger made a comment actually today, right before we were recording, that he was kind of giving his take on Oakmont, and he's like, driving distance and short iron play will be the difference this week. And it seems like that's kind of the case. And I even look back to Bryson's U.S. Open in 2020 at Winged Foot, which was similar, not quite the same. A little bit more of a kind of like the fairways were a little drier and tighter, but to where just hitting the ball far gave him such an advantage, because guys were missing fairways anyway. And so he was at least 30, 40 yards closer. And so that gave him a big advantage. And it seems like that will, strength, power, distance off the tee will be a big advantage this week when the rough is as thick as it is.
Yeah, and the way the course is setting up, you got to think a lot of the majors of late have really been mostly big names. I mean, I think besides the Brian Harmon win, you've had Scotty win, the PGA and Masters. You had Bryson win a U.S. Open. You had Rory win the Masters. You had Schauffele win a pair. So it's been the big timers stepping up. The way this course is setting up with its length and its difficulty, that's what you expect.
Yep.
Drew and I will have some U.S. Open picks here coming up later in the show as we continue our year-long competition. So stick around for that. We'll kind of give our reasons for guys that we pick and why we picked them and whatnot. But we'll talk about that much more. But before we get there, let's talk about Bella McCauley and just the the experiences and the season that she had this year.
Yeah, that's and even kind of off air, outside of the interview recorded, she was kind of making the comments that it's almost kind of hard to believe what she was able to experience in the last couple months. Obviously playing Augusta, being invited to the Augusta National Women's Amateur, and then kind of the way she explains too and how she was invited to the Palmer Cup to play on Team USA, where she was the first alternate, and the process there of actually getting on the team and the whirlwind of emotions there. So really cool to hear her perspectives on that. This was an awesome interview, and it's kind of cool to watch her as someone who's been getting fit at second swing for over a decade now with Erin, and see how she's been able to climb the ranks of the world amateur rankings. Really cool to see that from her and get her perspective here. We now welcome on the Second Swing Thoughts podcast. It is Bella McCauley here in the studio. Bella, you've been playing some pretty big-time events lately, so we wanted to go through your experiences there since we've last talked to you. I think the last time we did chat with you was shortly after you sort of found out about invitation to the Augusta National Women's Amateur. So we wanted to talk about that and your experience there. That had to have been really cool in the first place, just to go down there. Obviously the invitation was awesome, but then to be at the event, at the course, and also just amongst the best, women's amateur golfers in the world.
Yeah, it was such an incredible experience. Truly one of the best weeks of my life. I think it was one of the coolest parts was just actually a member had me out the Monday before the tournament even started. Okay. And that was almost one of even like the biggest highlights, just because there were like 5 groups of us out there, and I got to meet Rory, got to meet Bryson, and it just like being with a member, you're able to go in spots that like I don't think you normally would have been, even just playing in the tournament. And so he was showing me things and telling me stories that were pretty fun to hear. And but the first 5 holes like of playing, I feel like I was in like a dream. Like it felt so surreal. It was hard. I was like, okay, we need to snap out of it. We need to like be present. Right. But it was just like so surreal. And just a really fun weekend. But I think playing there with the member actually helped me. Like when I played there Friday in the practice round, I was able to like then be a little bit more present in the practice round.
You kind of enjoy it a little bit more too. And because that's I kind of do want to discuss. In the tournament, you had a really, really good showing. We were following here at the office. You had, if I remember correctly, you had like an 18-ish foot putt, 20-foot putt on the last hole that you had to make the cut, and you missed by 1 shot. What is it like, if you could kind of, try to talk through what was going on in your mind at the time, knowing, all right, I had to, you had a really good score that second day to kind of come back and nearly make it. Well, what's going through your mind is you're like trying to focus on, I'm in this really cool event. I'm among the best players in the world, but I'm also, okay, I have to focus on this task today of making the cut or shooting this score or whatever the goal might have been.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was definitely like a different tournament in that sense, where you're really just trying to like soak in every moment and like enjoy the present, but also really just compete as well. So it was kind of like a give and take. And I think what helps is just like, everyone in like competitive at that level too, especially like, but in competitive golf or in competitive sports, like, that part kind of comes out a little bit naturally. And so for me, I was really just trying to focus on enjoying the week, and I knew that the competitive part would come out, which it did. But I was really just focused on enjoying it, meeting new people, meeting friends, and like just making memories, because that was truly like could be like a once in a lifetime experience. So that was kind of the highlight of the focus of the week. Yeah,
and it seems like it's a really cool event in that they treat you guys really well. They have the dinner, they have all these really cool things for the players that week, and it seems like they kind of they roll out the red carpet in a way to make sure that it is kind of for you guys. It feels like this prestigious event at a really cool venue, where it feels like world-class, A-level experience for you guys.
It totally was. I mean, they didn't even need to try to make it feel that way, but they did. They just, I mean, it's hard when it's like Augusta and your expectations are already so high. You're like, there's no way they're gonna exceed my expectations, but like, yet it does. It was just, it was so incredible. Like our meals, like our itinerary, the communication, like everything was just so like excellent. It was insane. Like we had a chairman's dinner the practice round night, and that was at Augusta, and like all the players were shuttled there, like down Magnolia Lane, and got to meet Condoleezza Rice and like a bunch of members, so that part was so fun. And then like there were like nights when they had food trucks. Friday night that you could bring your family to an actual, like it's called Map and Flag, which is like a hospitality like dinner area for like some of their like sponsors during the Masters Week. And what's funny is like I learned that there's so many buildings on site at the Masters at Augusta, but that aren't even used, and they're just like they're used for that 1 week during the year, and they're there and they're just empty year round except for that 1 week. And so it was kind of cool. So that was like one of the buildings we were at, and that's we had so my family was able to come, and we had like dinners there. So just like they really just rolled out the red carpet to make sure we had like all these different experiences. We got to play the par 3. Just we all were stayed up in one hotel where they had like breakfast, lunch for us, like just like shuttle services for our family. So they just really went above and beyond even just like a normal tournament. And a lot of like USGA does incredible, so many, there's so many organizations that do such a great job, but Augusta really just like went above and beyond.
So it's kind of cool that that's your perspective on this week. Obviously there's a competitive aspect that you had to kind of channel when it was time to play. But the takeaway still, whether depending on what your performance would have been, it sounds like either way, if you had a really, really good week, finished really highly in the event, or if you had a poor week, you were going to take away, this is really cool. I got to do these really cool things, see this really cool venue, and meet all these people.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it was actually like something we talked about with, like a lot of the girls talked about, was they're just like, you'd have to like try not to have a good time. Like, like even if you're like playing bad, like obviously you're a competitor, you're a little upset, but like you'd really have to be trying to not have a good time. Like they just did everything in their power to like make it as incredible as possible. And so you're just like pinching yourself walking up like Augusta fairways. And so you're like, okay, you really have to be like, it doesn't really matter how you play. You're just really trying to soak it all in.
So for us viewers, we get to watch, the Masters and the Augusta National Women's Amateur a couple times a year, right? We see the course on TV, and it has this certain aura, this certain feeling to it. It's green, and then you see the azaleas and the flowers. Is it as spectacular as you see it on TV? I mean, I kind of think I know the answer, but
even more so. It was just crazy. There were like there were some like takeaways that I like wasn't expecting. I've been there before, like during the drive chin putt, so I knew it was hilly. That's like one thing that surprised a lot of people, is it's super hilly.
Okay.
Very
undulated.
Very undulated. Like, I mean, yeah, like heading down 10 is basically like a ski slope. Like it's actually crazy. Really? People don't always realize that. Some of the holes like were hard, like it was actually really hard. Like one of the things that was interesting was like I thought 1 was really hard. Okay. Like I wouldn't have necessarily thought that. I thought like 4 and 5 were really tough.
Yeah.
And then I thought 18 was like really, really hard. So like they definitely like had like, and another thing about Augusta that's interesting is people like really emphasize the greens, or like the greens are so fast, and they are fast, but actually like they're so pure that if you're within 6 feet and you're putting a good, you're feeling good about your putting, like you're putting a good stroke on the ball, like it's gonna go in. Like it's not even like, I didn't even feel like the greens were that hard. It was just all about like your approach shots. Like that's like the really hard part, because if you were missing your approach shots by even like 10 feet at times, that you could end up being in like the worst spot possible. Like I would hit like a 10-foot draw, and I'm like, it's like a little left, but like still should be fine. Like should be like on a normal golf course, like should be like middle of the green, like you're fine.
Yep.
There I would be like in the worst spot possible,
right.
Like short-sided, undulated, like crazy slopes. So it was like if you were it was all about approach shots. Like if you were putting yourself in like the right positions, like you could make putts, you could be scoreable. Right. Like you could see how it was scoreable out there for like some of the guys. But if you're like missing your approach shots by even like a couple feet at times, it was like really hard.
Right, because you were there, right, as they're gearing up the course for 2 of the most prestigious events in the world. So they had it. I mean, they had it in championship condition, and so you got to experience all of that. And I think I hear that about the course, and that and you see it on TV. The fairways aren't like super narrow.
No,
it's relatively generous compared to maybe other like championship venues off the tee. So then I guess what you're telling me is the approach shots missing in the right spot, if there is a miss, is kind of the way to manage your way around that place.
100%.
And making sure you're not missing in the wrong spot or giving yourself, because you could be on the green and have a really difficult par chance, because of
for sure.
the slopes, and trying to two-putt from a crazy spot can be really difficult.
Yeah, I mean, if you miss short on 14, like this slope was truly like 8 feet high. Like, it's just like, okay, like, let's try to two-putt this. Like, I don't know if it's going to go well. So, but like, if you're in the right spot there, and you'll have you have a great chance of making birdie. So it's just so interesting. And it was fun being able to watch the Masters afterwards, like knowing some of the slopes, knowing some of the whole locations. I had my caddy, when I was out there for the practice round, like put me put down spots where like the Sunday pins normally are, so then I could like kind of putt to them. So that kind of was fun as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, like just so many like cool things that like you're able to appreciate a lot more.
Yeah, that is really cool about the Sunday pins thing, because there are some iconic ones with Augusta, and so kind of being able to feel what the players are feeling. That's awesome. Well, I don't know. I'm not gonna, it'd be cool to obviously do it again, but the fact that you've been there once, you've experienced that is really cool, and we were obviously rooting for you. And I know one shot short of the cut, but that's still really a couple solid scores. We got some video from Simon sent us some video as well of you out there, and it was fun to watch. But
thank you.
The next one I wanted to cover as well as Palmer Cup. So how did we've talked about Augusta National Women's Amateur and how the invitation, the process, and how what their system is for inviting players, and then of course the invitation that you received. How did it work for Palmer Cup to get sort of selected for the team there?
Yeah, I think Palmer Cup is definitely a little bit different. Like ANWA, the Augusta National Women's Amateur, is really based off of rankings. There's a couple of exemptions, but a lot of it's based off the World Amateur Golf ranking, and that's really it. For the Palmer Cup, it's actually more so of I think this year was maybe like actually the first year was like solely like committee based.
Okay.
So there's like a committee of like head coaches. I want to say former coaches and maybe some like I'm not exactly who all makes it up, but I'm assuming some people on the Palmer Foundation as well. And so then you're selected based off that. And I think a lot of it is on ranking too, but it is definitely different in that it's not like this is exactly how you can get in.
Right.
And so, yeah, I was actually first alternate, and I got the call that I was first alternate like end of April, like right before I left for regionals. And I was like, what are the odds of getting in? And they're like, actually, like, fairly likely. Some like they often have like someone drop out towards the end, just depend on like a lot of different things, but tournament schedules or anything like that. And so yeah, then I got a call like right when I got back from regionals, like a week later, and they're like someone had to pull out, and I was like, I feel for them, but I'm pretty glad to be there. So yeah, that was a pretty like quick whirlwind of like not thinking I was gonna be in it. Now I am.
Yeah.
And so then I had like a couple weeks to gear up for it. This year it was at Congaree in South Carolina. Just a really cool, so it alternates between, so it's like US versus the world. It's not just Europe. It's all different countries, and it alternates each year depending like where it is. Normally it's in like Europe if it's international. I don't even know if it's benefit anywhere else other than Europe. But so last year was in Ireland, this year was in South Carolina, and it was just so fun. The course was really tough. Like it's a 150-acre property, 70 of which is sand.
Wow.
So
just a lot of dirt out there.
So just a lot of sand, like a lot of sand out there, a lot of waste bunkers. But it was really fun. It was definitely a really good match play course too, because there's a lot of risk reward out there, with like bunker carries, with drivable things or like reachable par fives. So just different things that they did to make it was a very good match play course. Played tough though.
Yeah. So, and again, talk to me about the format as well. So for people that don't know, Arnold Palmer Cup gathers some of the best both men and women.
Yes.
Amateur golfers,
yes.
right?
So it's so the Arnold Palmer Cup is solely like it's like a Ryder Cup essentially, for college golfers. So you have to be in college.
Okay.
You can't just like be an AM and like be younger.
Yeah.
You have to be in college. And it's so on like the US team consists of 12 guys and 12 girls, and then the international team consists of 12 guys and 12 girls.
Okay.
So there's 48 of us out there, and there's 4 matches like throughout the week. First match is like a mixed 4-ball. The second match is an alternate shot, just straight up alternate shot. So like girls are with girls, guys are with guys. The third match, which is like that same day in the afternoon, that's actually a mixed alternate shot, which is fun. And then that was probably one of like my favorite matches. I would say alternate shot, like those two were like,
really,
like the one with Kendall and then the one with Wells, like those were like my 2 favorite matches. And then the final one is a singles match, and that's just like head to head straight up. So yeah, it's really fun. It's a long week. It's super fun. But I would say alternate shot I've never played in an alternate shot before, and it was like definitely a different format, and I really enjoyed it actually.
Yeah, probably a little bit extra pressure too, knowing it's like you don't just have like you're also hitting the shot for your teammate, right?
Yes. I think it was easy. Like it can be easy, I think, or to like play the blame game, I guess, a little bit, and just being like, why am I in these spots? But I think our coaches did a really good job of like pairing us with people they thought would be like, fitting, and trying to keep us with like a straighter hitter or something, or like depending on like someone's game, or like pairing longer hitters with longer hitters, just so that you're in spots that you're used to being in normally. So our coaches did a really good job of that, but it was fun. You really just had to I think the biggest thing is just staying positive, because once you get in a rhythm, it was really easy to keep it going. You're really feeding off of each other in alternate shots, so that was fun.
And what was it like to wear the red, white, and blue? I mean, that's got to be a really cool feeling to get the uniforms and put them on and kind of be.
It's so special. I think there's nothing much better than to represent your country, and it's been like a dream for me since I was little. And obviously, like in golf, that you don't have too many of those opportunities, like compared to some other sports. So this was just so surreal, and being able to wear the red, white, and blue. We had, just so much fun camaraderie around it. And we had face tattoos, we had USA bracelets, USA outfits. It was just so fun, and really just like being united around it was really cool.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds and looks like a fantastic experience. With the mixed team thing is something that I think there should be more of in golf. I think it's fun when that when you see those formats. I know there's a couple events out there in the pro game, but there's not really that much. So kind of cool that you got to experience that. I think that's awesome. But
yeah, totally. It is fun because, men and women just have such different games. And so you were kind of able to leave appreciating like the differences, and just, I was like, I need to gain a little distance. That's what I left thinking. But it was pretty fun just like to be able to see, some of the best men in the world, like their golf games. Obviously, we're used to playing with women all the time, and so it's pretty consistent. It can be kind of boring golf, and so for them, it's definitely anything but boring. They're left and right, and they're all over the place, but they hit it really far. So it was kind of fun to just be able to change it up.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. I mean, really cool that those are big deal events that you get to be a part of. So. Hey, I know you've got a lot more career ahead of you, but I had to get your perspective on those two things, Bella.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for swinging into the studio here and joining us to talk about those two things. It was awesome. And again, I don't know what the future holds, if you're going to be in these again in the future, but we're rooting for you nonetheless.
Thank you so much. So fun.
And that was Bella McCauley joining in the studio to talk about her crazy experiences. Of course, it's been, as I mentioned, been awesome to watch her get to do this stuff and be such a good representation for the state of Minnesota, University of Minnesota, and I mean, in a way, second swing as well.
Yeah. I think every single one of us is jealous of getting to play Augusta National. I mean, she got to meet Rory, got to meet Bryson, got to see parts of the course that none of us will ever get to see. Yeah. Most of us will never, ever get to play. And then I thought it was interesting her take on the greens.
Yeah.
That they were just so pure that if you were close and you hit a good putt, like you felt like you were going to make it every time. But then how difficult the approaches were. And that's kind of what Augusta's always been known as a second shot golf course.
Yeah.
Putting yourself in the right position on those greens to score. And it rang true for her. And then, the Palmer Cup, really cool as well. Unfortunately, Team USA lost that. Yeah. But Bella won her final. He won her singles match, halved one of her alternate shot formats, and then lost the other two, but they were both close. But what an experience, what a cool ride. Congratulations to her.
Yeah.
And hopefully, we get to be talking to her a year from now, and she's been doing the same thing again.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure she's got a lot more experiences similar to that in her future, whether it be team golf representing Team USA or maybe it's another invitation to Augusta. Should be a lot of cool things up her sleeve in the future. So, but yeah, let's talk U.S. Open here. So
yeah,
we've got
U.S. Open
picks.
time. Tees off tomorrow at Oakmont, as we mentioned. One of the beasts of the course of the U.S. Open, one of the historical ones. Been a lot of big names have won here. We've been doing our kind of season-long picks. This is our entry number 4. Mm-hmm. Drew took the players, and then I've won the 2 majors, and we've kind of just been rolling with whoever kind of is fresh off the win gets the first pick the next time. It's kind of one of your rewards, and so we're using the same, run your pool picks. So the players are based into 6 tiers. Mm-hmm. The first 5 tiers are the top, I think, 10 odds. Then there's 10 players in each one. It's based on your odds to win, not world ranking. So that's how we're kind of going with this, and I'm just going to start it off with, and I'm picking the favorite. Why not? It worked for me last time, and he's playing as good as anyone in the world right now. Well, he's playing way better than everyone else in the world. I'm going Scotty Scheffler. Yeah,
Scotty is the easy number 1 choice. I don't fault you for that at all. I think anybody would go with that route. I'm going to follow up with Bryson, and again, it's just it's a Bryson or Rory toss-up, and right now there's one guy who's got a little better form than the other, so I'll go with Bryson, and it does seem like the power and the strength that he has will be an advantage this week.
For my second pick now how I was kind of basing my picks, I was going off of a strokes gained tee to green, which kind of rings true with Tiger said, guys that are driving the ball well and then hitting it into the greens well, and that's pretty much the recipe at just about every U.S. Open. Yes, putting and chipping are super important, but with the way this rough is set up and the length, hitting fairways, hitting greens is going to be vital. So that's kind of the stat I was looking at. So I'm going with Justin Thomas. He's a 2-time major champion. Usually multiple major champions win, like the U.S. Open. That's kind of historically been a thing, or previous major champions. So that was kind of my reason with going JT. Just going, maybe he's not the safest play, but he's a high ceiling play.
Yeah, that is. He's, in terms of ball striking, he's always been one of the best. I went less statistical with my picks here, and more so my own eye tests, my own, call it vibes.
I was gonna say vibes.
And Brooks is a guy I just can't quit, and he's in the second tier here of guys, in the second tier of the odds. Definitely hasn't had the Brooks Koepka form in majors the last year or two that we're used to, but he's won a U.S. Open before when it played really tough. Shinnecock in 2018. I believe the final winning score was about even par, and he won it. And so I'm hoping he can find some of that this week. He's my pick for the second tier.
Yeah, I can't fault you with Brooks. He hasn't had his best game at the majors this year, but it's a big course.
Yeah,
he kind of, Bethpage Black that he won at, and Aaron Hills, which is a big course, he kind of steps up in those situations. So I would not be shocked to see Brooks there and have his best result of the year in the majors. For my next pick, going with the guy that maybe will be selecting Brooks to the Ryder Cup team. I'm going with Keegan Bradley. Once again, strokes gained at tee to green. He's 6th on the PGA Tour. He's a former major champion. I think he wants to automatically qualify for his own Ryder Cup team because he wants to play.
Yeah, this would be a great way to do it.
He won't choose himself, but what better motivation than to win the U.S. Open and then go be the U.S. Ryder Cup captain and be a playing captain? So it'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's he is in terms of just the fit for the course. He's not the longest guy off the tee, but he hits fairways quite a bit, and he's pretty consistent off the tee. And then obviously he's a really good iron player as well. So this would be a high finish at Oakmont would be huge for his chances in terms of just automatically qualifying. I know he's a ways out yet right now, but I know the point system favors major results quite a bit. So I'm going to go with maybe an off-the-radar one in Tier 3, and that is Robert McIntyre, or Bobby Mack, as I like to call him. And he's had some pretty good experiences playing tough setups. That is my sort of reasoning for picking him. And also, I kind of wanted to, for the sake of the pool with the company here, the second swing contest, I wanted to go with a guy, a little bit off the radar that wouldn't be selected as much. And I think McIntyre has the mental fortitude, and he's won recently, last couple of years. I think he can do it. He's pretty accurate off the tee, and I think he's got this mental toughness that will be needed this week.
Yeah, my next pick is going to be J.J. Spaun. Once again, strokes tee to green, 19th on the PGA Tour. He's a guy that's Has 4 top 10 finishes this year on tour, including losing it in a playoff at the Players.
Yep.
Coming off a missed cut at the Memorial, which, that's a tough course, tough venue. But before that, tied for 6th at Charles Schwab. He's made the cut at both majors so far. And just kind of one of those guys he's just a solid player. He's kind of, you can kind of expect him to make the cut, and he might not win, but he'll give you, a top 25 finish. And when you're picking this many guys, that's a good result. You want all your guys to make the cut. So I like what he's done so far this year.
So these next couple picks for me are going to be very different. And that's on purpose, getting a couple of mixes of different styles in with my team here. So I'm going to go with Justin Rose for Tier 4. Good showing at Augusta in the last major, or I guess in the first major of the year. Doesn't have the distance per se, but I think the experience, knowing, again, a guy who's won a U.S. Open in a tough setup in the past, I think that'll play valuable this week. So Justin Rose will be my pick here. I think he's going to be the type that can deliver on those shots where placement is important, and I think that'll be a huge this week.
Yeah, and then 5th tier here, I'm going Nick Taylor. Yeah. Guy who has a win way back in January this year, but coming off of a tie for 13th at the Canadian Open, 4th at the Memorial. Yeah, he missed the cut at the PGA, but good to see a good bounce back. He's a guy who's, he's made some clutch putts. Yeah. He's just a good, solid player. He's, once again, in that strokes gained, he's 26th tee to green. By the time you're getting down to these tiers, like the numbers are a little different. They're not quite as strong, but I'll take that, and a guy who's won before. So
yeah, that's a really good value selection there, because he also has, when he peaks or when he has a really good finish, it's like he wins or he places top 5, right? So he has strong peaks, and if he could find that this week, he'll be in contention. I mentioned that I have a couple different picks here. This is a guy that's a bit of a wild card here, but he has had some success recently as Min Woo Lee. He won not long ago. And he's got, this is the guy, we talk about this course favoring longer hitters. He's got as high a ball speed as really almost anybody besides Bryson on tour. And so Min Woo Lee, I'm hoping his power and speed can be his benefit and kind of carry him this week at Oakmont.
Yeah, and then you get into the 6th tier, and it is truly just a wild card shot. But I found there's a couple connections here. One, it's a college teammate of Justin Thomas. A guy who's kind of had a cool little comeback story.
Yeah, he has.
And he's been pretty dang solid this year. I think he's missed 1 cut all season. He's got, 5 top 25 finishes, 4 top 10s. And like I said, strokes gained tee to green. He's 21st on the PGA Tour. I'm going with Bud Cauley.
Yeah, that's actually a good one. And a note with that, he did the final qualifying and made it in. But I believe because of world ranking, he would have actually ended up getting in.
Yep.
On his own anyway. He would have got bumped in, and so the final qualifying he did was, I think, ended up being meaningless, but he still had the number that day anyway, in the longest day in golf. So
and then that's
he's clearly playing well right now.
That's a pressure packed environment, so you kind of like guys that played well in an environment like that.
Yeah, so that's a good pick. I'm going to go with my kind of theme here of guys that have won U.S. Opens for my Tier 6. That's Gary Woodland. Obviously, he had the sort of medical situation that kind of has impacted his results, I'd say, the last couple of years. But easy to root for. And also, the guy has club speed. The guy has distance. And this is the type of course, I think, that does fit him. It's going to be a matter of those approach shots, putting him in the right position. But that, for me, brings it to 4 of my 6 guys that are U.S. Open champions.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my approach to this strategy of picking 6 guys, but should be good. I think I like my squad.
Yeah, so just to recap, I have Scotty Scheffler, Justin Thomas, Keegan Bradley, J.J. Spahn, Nick Taylor, Bud Cauley, and Drew has Bryson DeChambeau, Brooks Koepka, Bobby McIntyre, Justin Rose, Min Woo Lee, Gary Woodland. So we shall see who picks up the win.
Yeah.
We're going for 3 in a row right now. So
yeah, I need to stop the schneid here, get off the schneid a little bit, but
yeah,
should be a fun watch.
We'll see who wins, and we'll give you the update next Wednesday on the next episode of the Second Swing Thoughts podcast. But what else we got coming up on YouTube here, Drew?
Yeah, lots of fun stuff. Our live at lunch comparisons of older versus newer drivers is still rolling. This week is going to be Ping, so that'll be fun. We've had a couple requests for Ping G5, Ping G10 drivers, so we'll throw those into a mix against the G440. That should be a lot of fun. We've also got our Fitter's Choice Series rolling through, and we've got some tour van content up. We actually put up a build on Friday of a driver build for Victor Hovland. He's going through some testing phases right now with a couple different G440 driver heads and shaft combinations, and we got to document one on the Ping Tour truck that was built. And one of their builders, Matt Kistler, walked us through it. That was really cool. So a lot of good stuff on the YouTube channel. We got all those series rolling right along.
Yeah, that Hovland video is really cool. It's cool to see the specs and what those guys like to play. On the second swing side, it's Father's Day on Sunday. Check out our Father's Day golf specials. We got best value clubs there. We got, you can get a gift card for dad, schedule a fit-in. Lots of cool options for you. So make sure you take advantage of that. And then just keep an eye on our social media channels this week. We'll have at least 4 social media giveaways, some custom stamped wedges. So keep your eye out for that. And, can't wait to watch the U.S. Open this week.
Should be a fantastic weekend to watch some golf, watch some guys struggle out there, look a little bit, like the everyday golfer, just for one weekend of the year, right? So make sure you're subscribed to the Second Swing YouTube channel and subscribe to the Second Swing Thoughts podcast. We'll see you next week. And, again, subscribe and make sure you get your dad something cool for Father's Day.